Oh, you did ask him that? Okay.
Yeah. Put him on blast. Put him on blast. Put him on blast.
That's why I said I want to sit down.
But Keisha do say it's not her fault. Yeah, she say it's not her fault, that, these cases hadn't been tried. She say that the basic DA have to take some
She's slipping though.
response.
She very slipping. She very cunning and conniving and slipping. She very slipping.
Girl, when I seen that woman at that funeral, my blood pressure went over. I was ready to sit at her house.
See, that's what the thing is. Be like, you see her, it's gonna make our blood pressure go up. That's why I was like, no, don't come and try to act like we all in solidarity with each other. Because we're not in solidarity with you. Because I'm mad not only about my son's case, but the previous ones prior to my son. How you doing? I'm doing.
Anybody else?
No, that's it.
How you guys doing?
Just let me know when I hit. We're gonna be streaming on Facebook.
I don't think nobody can get a pass. Nobody. Nobody.
So what you want to do is...
Some of them cases out the Gerald, I ain't even know that about the Gerald.
Okay.
They got killed.
Okay.
Alright, so is everybody ready?
Atchison.
See it. Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hold on. MPP is coming.
Huh? Yeah, I see him. I see him.
Anybody need water or anything like that?
I'll take some water.
Anybody else want water? We're gonna give them a moment to set up and then we're gonna get started. I heard that before. You're not the only one. I used to drink it every day. I quit.
What, coffee? Oh, my folks said he's taking pictures.
How many times a day would you drink?
Just one.
Okay. What you drink now? Tea?
Just one.
I used to be like that, just water. But now, Coca-Cola, Lord, it's all I know.
We're going to wait for this next crew to set up. Huh? Oh, they want you to hold up the signs, yeah.
Oh, this side? This side?
No, you cool. You cool. Thank you, cool. Oh, I'm good. That's good.
Yeah, I
You ready?
Good morning. I'm Richard Rose, president of the Atlanta NAACP. And the purpose of this press conference is to bring a little bit of humanity. You know, when we're dealing with the census, that's about data. But when we're dealing with deaths, it's about losses in families. It's about real people. It's about real circumstances, real grief that remains. So today we've brought a couple of the families who've been affected by police violence. That in most of these cases is unprosecuted. We want to applaud again Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard for doing the obvious. We had video clearly showing Gerald Roth shooting Rayshard Brooks in the back. And we have some people who have claimed that he should have waited for the GBI. I don't know what else the GBI could have done when we have on video what this officer, the crime that this officer committed in our eyes. And he has been duly charged, and we expect a full conviction and punishment to the fullest extent of the law. But this morning I'd like to bring Monteria Robinson, who represents Jamarion Robinson's family, who was killed by a hail of bullets from a federal task force, and we still have not had the information necessary for Mr. Howard in Fulton County District Attorney's Office to seek an indictment. Ms. Robinson.
Oh, is that okay to set it right here? Okay, please. Good morning. My name is Monteria Robinson. That's Monteria. My son's name is pronounced Jamarion Robinson. That's Jamarion. As most of you have heard the story of my son, Jamarion Robinson. Jamarion Robinson was a student athlete at Tuskegee University at the time of his death. But on August the 5th, 2016, my son was executed right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Right here in Atlanta, Georgia, my son was executed. And I am angry about that because we have not gotten any real coverage, any national coverage for our stories, for our cases here. My son's case is one of the most graphic cases in U.S. history. Over 90 rounds were fired at my son. Over 90 rounds were fired at my son. Flashbang grenades were thrown at him, landing on him, burning him. Someone walked up the stairs, they stood over him and shot down and hit to his body, not 3 times, but 5 times. That was just confirmed by my forensic expert. After that, he was handcuffed and drugged down a flight of stairs. I've been waking up for 4 years, angry, anxiety every day. And I'm tired. I'm fed up. Paul Howard is stating that, oh, there was no body cameras. Well, let me go back one. First, he stated that the reason the officers have not been arrested because they were protected by the federal government. That is a lie. I produced the oath of office to media on June 8th, showing that they were not federal employees. June 17th, he made another statement claiming that there were no body cameras. My son's body is the body camera. What else do you need? What more do you need? We have the governor and the mayor weighing in on other states. Let's address the issues right here in Georgia. We've had over 130 plus cases of brown and black men killed by police here in Georgia. Let's address that. Atlanta is ranked number 10 with the most fatal police shootings. We are ranked number 10. I am angry. I am mad because we are being overlooked here in Georgia. And no one is acknowledging us. But we are here to demand we will make them see us. We will make them see us. I've been doing this since 4 years. But the last few weeks, I've been out on the streets, in the community. I have not seen not one poster, not one flyer of my son. I can't get the major media outlets to cover my son's story. Now I've been forced to make them cover my son's story. And they will cover it. If they don't cover it, then black media will cover it. Let's talk about Oscar Caine. Let's talk about Shali Tilson. Let's talk about Jamarion Robinson. Let's talk about Javis Benjamin. Let's talk about Jimmy Atchison. Let's talk about, the list goes on and on. And we, the families, we're tired of being overlooked as though we don't matter. Our voices have not been heard. But our voices will be heard. Once again, my name is Monteria Robinson. I am the mother of Jamarion Robinson. Hashtag justice for Georgia. Hashtag justice for Jamarion. Hashtag justice for Jamarion Robinson. Thank you all so much. Monteria, M-O-N-T-E-R-I-A, Robinson. Once again, my son's name is pronounced Jamarion, J-A-M-A-R-I-O-N.
So we'll come in. So Jimmy Atchison was killed with his hands up, hiding in a closet, coming out unarmed, non-threatening, and so there was an absence of body cameras. As federal task force are, they do not allow body cameras. Jamarion Robinson was killed in a similar fashion. Jimmy Atchison had the same, the reports we get from the same. Federal task force does not allow body cameras on their task force. We think that needs to change, but in the absence of that, local police agencies have to be around when the federal task force come in, because it's about the protection of the public. We'll now hear from Jimmy's father, Jimmy Atchison's father, Jimmy Atchison. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tammy Featherstone. I am the aunt of Jimmy Atchison. Jimmy was killed last year on January 22nd, 2019, off of Martin Luther King in the Allen Hill apartment community. We have yet to receive justice for his death. No officer has been charged. Officer Sun Kim, the shooter, was given the option to resign or be fired. He chose to resign. We're still fighting to have Officer Sun Kim indicted for the murder of Jimmy. Jimmy was in a closet, laying in a closet, was given 2 commands. One was to don't move, and the other one was to have your hands up. He came out the closet with his hands up and was shot 1 time in his face, which killed him. 1 time in his face, and that 1 shot killed him. We've spoken to the mayor's office once briefly for probably about 10 minutes. We've spoken to Paul Howard. Paul Howard has now told us that the issue is he cannot interview these officers because the officers are not required to give him a statement of what happened on January the 22nd, 2019. I pray and I hope that this will change. Keisha Lance Bottom, the mayor, will make it a requirement for these officers to make statements of what happened in these cases to the District Attorney Paul Howard, so that our family, along with other families, can receive some type of closure. These officers can be charged, prosecuted, and put away. Atlanta, the home of the NAACP, the home of peace, the home of Martin Luther King Jr., this has got to change. This has got to change. We have got to make changes in Atlanta. We are fighting for our kids. We need people in office that's going to fight and protect our kids, our sons, our daughters, our brothers, our fathers. This has got to change. We asking that everyone please, please, please support us, support Monteria Robinson, support the other mothers, come out, march with us, pray with us, just support us in getting these officers charged for the murders of our sons.
Good afternoon. Good morning. God is good. My name is Jimmy Hill. I'm the father of Jimmy Atchison. As Tammy spoke about the situation concerning the shooting, I call it an execution style shooting of my son, Jimmy Atchison. Atlanta got a police brutality problem. Atlanta has been hiding this, trying to sweep all these cases under the rug. And it's just time for it to come to light. It's time to put a bright light on Atlanta and all the officials who are involved in trying to sweep this under the rug. In my mindset, nobody should get a pass, and nobody won't get a pass. We're not going to give up. We're going to continue to fight. My son Jimmy wasn't perfect, but my son Jimmy didn't deserve to die the way that he died. Shot down like a dog. It seems to be, even animals, during hunting season, animals have a break. Well, they give animals a break. You can't hunt animals at certain times of the year. But a black man seems to be hunted and killed by police all through the year. This must stop, and it ain't gonna stop till we do something about it. So Atlanta, get ready. You officials who keep trying to hide this under the rug, we finna bring the thunder. Yes. Our families have come together. It's time for people to start feeling our pain. Feel our pain, but we coming with it. And like I said, nobody should get a pass, and everybody should have the right to live their lives free of fear and to be treated with dignity and respect. Liberty and justice should be for all, not just some people. Our sons and our daughters, their lives matter. My son Jimmy's life matters. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? I'm Attorney Griggs, the Vice President of the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP, and we've been on the front lines of this fight for a long time, whether it was Jamarion Robinson, Jimmy Atchison, Oscar Caine, Veltavious Griggs, Caine Rogers, just so many. And what recently happened in Atlanta with Rayshard Brooks, we stood here and said it was not a one-off. What happened to Ahmaud Arbery, we stood here and said it was not a one-off. What happened to Breonna Taylor, we said it was not a one-off, and George Floyd is not a one-off. But we have a systemic problem in Atlanta, a systemic problem in Georgia with police violence and police brutality. And so we received numerous calls from many of the families to convene a march. And so we are convening a march tomorrow at the C.T. Martin Recreation Center at 1 o'clock. We're calling on every family that has been the victim of police brutality in the state of Georgia, in the city of Atlanta, in Metro Atlanta to come. It will be tomorrow, June the 27th at 1 p.m. in front of the C.T. Martin Recreation Center, 3201 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Southwest, because Southwest Atlanta is Atlanta. Jimmy Atchison was a son of Southwest Atlanta. Jamarion Robinson was a son of Southwest Atlanta. And there has never been a historic march in the middle of Southwest Atlanta connecting it to the state capitol. And so we're calling on everyone of good conscience, those that marched for Rayshard, those that marched for George Floyd, those that marched for Breonna Taylor in Atlanta, to march for these men and women that have been gunned down in Atlanta. There was a couple celebrities a few weeks ago that said this is not an Atlanta problem. And as soon as I heard it, my phone started ringing. Monteria called me, Jimmy called me, so many of the mothers called me and said that was an insult. And so we're calling on our elected officials to come to the protests so you can hear from these families. You cannot convene a task force to fix police brutality without engaging directly the people who have lost individuals based on police brutality. We have to get real in the city of Atlanta. We have to get real in the state of Georgia. We have to address this once and for all. And to the police union, who stands behind individuals that are now charged with the most heinous crimes. If you truly are protectors of the community, I challenge you to come talk to them. Hear their stories. Hear about the 38 cases that have been prosecuted in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and the 18 current cases, 7 of which are police shootings that ended in death, 14 of which are Atlanta police. And tell me again that there's just a few bad apples, because one bad apple spoils the bunch. So let's deal with the problem. This is not a Blue Lives Matter issue. This is a justice issue. So we are calling on everyone of good conscience to come to the C.T. Martin Recreation Center at 1 o'clock for a march to highlight the issue of Georgia, to highlight the issue of Atlanta. We've marched for everybody else. It's time to march for these families whose voices have been muted. So as the Atlanta NAACP with President Richard Rose would call on that march, I look forward to seeing you. Okay. It's the old Adamsville Recreation Center. It's right across from Allen Temple or Allen Hills apartment complex, right there in the heart of Southwest Atlanta. So please come. We will be there. It will be historic. But the most important thing will be that we will highlight the Atlanta cases. We will say names that you have not heard before, names that you have maybe heard one time. And we will make sure that from Corey Ward and Katherine Johnston all the way to Rayshard Brooks, Atlanta will say his and her names once and for all. So here's a challenge, elected officials. Show up. Because if you don't show up, who knows? The next march may come a little closer to home. Thank you. I'm Attorney Gerald Griggs, the Vice President of the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP.
So let me just kind of restate where the Atlanta NAACP is. We don't believe that the term police reform is appropriate. We believe there must be a restructuring entirely for public safety, away from police force. We have a 911 system, so if your house is on fire, you call 911, they don't send the police, they send the fire department. If somebody's struggling for breath, they don't send the police, they send the EMTs. So why, when there's a call for 911 that a man is naked walking down the street, they send the police? They send armed combatants with an attitude of combat. We have to restructure for police safety, to protect and serve the community. We believe that sociological and psychological professionals should be added to police forces all over this country. And if the police forces cannot afford them, then they shouldn't have the public safety interest, a public safety department. We have to move toward public safety and away from police forces, which sprang into being from slave catching patrols 2 centuries ago. We have to be intentional about repairing the systems that terrorize our communities. So we will be continuing on this vein, and because what we recognize is that too many states like Georgia, and Georgia is the lead, I think, in 2020, Georgia has a policy of racism, and it permeates every system throughout this state. And at this point, we'll take any questions you might have regarding the the comments this morning or what we look for in the future as we continue to work toward restructuring the public safety for the betterment of all people and the protection of all people. I'm Richard Rose, ROSC, President of the Atlanta NAACP. Sure.
Why do you suppose Atlanta and city officials haven't really focused and recognized these cases that are still pending and demanding justice for their murdered sons and daughters?
I think that, first of all, we know that the police union has become too powerful in protecting policemen. They should be focused on how to do the job of protect and serve. Instead, what they are doing is protecting their jobs. And even in this latest killing of Rayshard Brooks, we have video evidence of the officer shooting 3 times at him in the back. He hit him twice. And so we still have the police union saying that was a rush to judgment. And we question any politician who echoes the police union saying that was a rush to judgment. Who we gonna believe? We gonna believe the police union, or we gonna believe our lying eyes? We all saw it, and now, but it does tell us who is for the people and who is not. We hear politicians talking about, well, Paul Howard should have waited on the GBI. So they are telling us who they are. The police union has demonstrated that it is against the black community. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for your attendance. You can email us back if you missed something, but thank you very much for coming.